blaster has really been deafening everybody in that tunnel. I was down there earlier. The music wasn't bad, I must say, though. You could have danced to it, I think, Andy.
No, you haven't seen me dancing. I wonder if they're coming out, Manchester City, and usually teams wait for each other. But it looks like Manchester City are on their way, and they're not waiting on anyone.
Well, it doesn't look like they're going to hang around with Wimbledon, or will they? They're just waiting. That's Kieran Barrett, the referee, cup final referee, of course. He's saying, come on to the Wimbledon, boys, let's get out there. And maybe getting some last-minute instructions from Joe Kinnear. That's the scene at the new look Selhurst Park, looking down at what was the old Sainsbury's end of the ground. And here they come. Wimbledon in that new look strip this season. And they're pretty hyped up. There's a kind of siege mentality about this squad, Wimbledon against the world, but it served them very, very well indeed. Just the one defeat this season, and they're the only side in the Premiership who've scored in every game. So, Wimbledon against Manchester City is our live game on Sky Sports tonight. So live action, don't go away. It's on Sky Sports tonight. Wimbledon against Manchester City. The whole match here on Sky Sports.
Welcome back. Let's join our match commentators, Andy Gray and Ian Dark.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Kieran Barrett from Coventry is tonight's referee, the FA Cup final referee. And he had a run for his money too, didn't he, with the replay between Arsenal and Sheffield Wednesday and extra time as well. It's due to be his last season on the list. Manchester City, despite we have a kind of two-tone blue arrangement here, no clash of colours, I think you'll agree. And it's City who get us underway here. And Steve McMahon getting an early touch. Flitcroft, who's been switched back into midfield, he has been playing right back in recent matches. And Roger Joseph touching it back to Hans Sagers, the long-serving Wimbledon goalkeeper.
He's one of the best. Ian, sorry, he's one of the best. Hans Sagers, you mentioned him, at dealing with the pass back and the ball back to him. He's very confident. I hope that's not the kiss of death for him tonight, though.
It's away by Keith Curle, the Manchester City skipper, of course, played 93 league games for Wimbledon. He was having a real old joke with Fashanu and the rest of them in the tunnel before the game, but the serious stuff is underway now. Here's the youngster making his debut, Richard Edgehill. We wish him well. On to Sheeran, lovely touch by Quinn, and Sheeran still attacking it. Kimball got it away, but only as far as Flitcroft. Sheeran with the just a little flick there, good idea. This is played long for Fashanu, who says he feels he's fittest in years. Notice the red boots still in action. Dean Holdsworth and Edgehill. The challenge is fair, says the referee. Alan Kimball. Holdsworth on to Warren Barton. Now here's Robbie Earle, talented player in the middle of the field, and he has a kind of free roll to get forward. Watch for that tonight. Former Port Vale player. Scales getting that away for Wimbledon. Brian Horton has been absolutely delighted with the attitude of the Manchester City players through all the boardroom turmoil going on at Main Road.
This is a real tempting outlet for City early on, this right back area. Twice already, Richard Edgehill's been able to walk into acres of space, Ian, and receive the ball, and there he is again. If he's confident on the ball, this is the kind of debut you'd like.
Flitcroft playing this one long, aimed towards Quinn. It's almost as if the City boys were trying to give him a few nice, easy early touches, wasn't it, Edgehill?
He can come here again, Steve McMahon, if he wants.
It's away by Kimball, the £175,000 buy from Cambridge. Here's Earle making the run. Sanchez to Vinnie Jones. And then Joseph knocking this one forward. He's really impressed Joe Kinnear as Alan Kimball since his signing from Cambridge, playing in the left back slot, getting forward. And he says he's just the ticket for me, Joe Kinnear. That's up towards Quinn. Vinnie Jones in there. Fashanu to run against his old mate Curl, perhaps. Barton is the outlet. Barton once more. Fashanu. That's nice football from Wimbledon.
Touch just let him down. John Fashanu's there.
Sheeran and Flitcroft, the two exciting youngsters that City have linking up there. Kernahan on to Sheeran. Manchester City, who've hit 3 goals in both of their last 2 games, away at Swindon and at home to Queen's Park Rangers. And confidence lifted. As Jones in very quickly on the debutant Edgehill.
Just wonder if he'd spotted how much room Richard Edgehill had to settle down early in the match, and Vinnie just saying, well, welcome to the big time. It won't be the first or last.
I had a little chat to Richard Edgehill just before the kick-off, Andy, and he didn't seem at all fazed by the idea that it would be his debut. He said he'd been told yesterday by Brian Horton he'd got used to the idea, and he was really looking forward to it, Wimbledon or not. Now, here's Sheeran. Quinn's there with him, he goes alone. Scales with the challenge. John Scales, who of course was linked with a big money move to Liverpool in the summer. They've made several attempts, as I understand it, to sign him, but it's never really happened. That's Scales coming in again there. There was an offside flag up anyway. Yorkshire lad from Harrogate. In tonight's programme, Joe Kinnear, the Wimbledon manager, saying everybody interprets this as physical, but we aim to show that we can play a little bit as well. So let's see. Jones wins that. The tenacious McMahon with the header. Now's Fitzroy Simpson up to Sheeran. This is the Dutchman Groenendijk. He's got a lovely sweet left foot.
The one thing you can bet about the Groenendijk is technically he'll be excellent, Ian.
Former Ajax player. Here he is again. McMahon, nice touch. Sheeran thought about the shot. This is Fitzgerald. Aimed towards Holdsworth, who hasn't really got into his goal-scoring form of last season yet this year. Just 1 in 7 games, Dean Holdsworth. Well, he does look confident, doesn't he, the youngster? Edgehill, that's a good ball too to Quinn. What a good turn, and Scales pulling him back. Now, what's the referee going to give there? Because Quinn seemed to be through on goal.
Well, I tell you, it's a difficult one for the referee there. Because Niall Quinn fools him totally here. John Scales, I think, thinks he's going to knock it back, but you can see Niall Quinn turns very well for a big lad, and he's through. And John Scales could think himself lucky we're only 6 minutes into the game, because that card, well, I don't think we'd have been surprised had it been red.
Could have been, couldn't it? He escapes with yellow. Now, Alphonse Groenendijk is looking to curl one perhaps with the left foot here. Flitcroft there as well with McMahon.
Steve McMahon's trying to organise it, but I think Groenendijk fancied hitting it himself.
Groenendijk, and out to Fitzroy Simpson. It's a bright start from City.
Very bright. They've looked very confident, passed it about very well. But Wimbledon don't close the ball quick enough. Look, Fitzroy Simpson takes 2 touches. One there, and he's shot, and he's still able to get a shot in there. You really have to close the ball down quicker. I think we saw yesterday, Eric Cantona, that free kick, wasn't closed down quick enough, and Arsenal paid a heavy price for it.
Curl winning that one in the air, aimed towards Simpson. Here's Vinnie Jones, and Earl making that run that we were talking about through from the midfield, and they've got to watch that.
Good adjustment from Alan Kernahan. It's a difficult run for a midfield player to track that in, but if you've got two centre-backs that are aware and are watching the play ahead of them, they can usually deal with runs from midfield.
Ooh, Vinnie Jones in very hard there on Groenendijk. Groenendijk was a substitute for Ajax in the UEFA Cup final when they played Torino last season. He was coveted by Leo Beenhakker when he was the Ajax coach, but fell out of favour when they changed coaches and was in the reserves most of last year. But you're talking about a guy here who's been setting up goals for the likes of Dennis Bergkamp.
There's a space again, Ian, on the right.
And this young Edgehill. Good start by the youngster, and he gets the cross in too. Simpson, away by Robbie Earle. But what a start this 18-year-old boy's made. Richard Edgehill.
He's a little bit like Terry Phelan from a distance as well. But they're going to have to do something, Wimbledon. They can't allow someone who looks as comfortable on the ball as Edgehill this amount of time and space, because he'll eventually connect with someone like Quinn in there.
And Brockwell's long ball seeming to be to nobody in particular. Local boy from Oldham, brought through the City youth system, Edgehill. Fashanu on to Holdsworth. Fashanu, good flick on. Kernahan with the important interception with his head. Long for Quinn, and of course that's a tried and trusted route of attack for Manchester City always, the long ball to Quinn and then knocked down hopefully into the path of Sheeran or one of the midfield players coming through.
There have been times I felt over the years that now Quinn's been there when they perhaps have overdone that tactic. But certainly they started tonight as if they're quite prepared to mix it up. Looked for Quinn when he's available, but when they've had time to pass it, they've also looked to pass it around.
Good interception by Flitcroft, Groenendijk. And Sheeran isn't going to catch that one.
And when you look at their midfield quartet, Ian, that they've got in Flitcroft, McMahon, Groenendijk and Simpson, they're all very, very comfortable on the ball. So it would seem crazy to bypass them all the time. All talented and all comfortable to take the ball under pressure.
It's an interesting point you make there, Andy, because I saw them in a game at, I think it was Coventry last year, when Coventry had them on the rack, and then they started pushing the ball about and they pulled the game round and ended up winning it. Fashanu back to Kimball. Interesting looking ball. Kernahan doing nothing wrong so far, but this is broken to Barton here now. Danger. Fashanu was in there, and it was Keith Curle who got there ahead of his mate to concede the corner.
Good defending from Keith Curle. Groenendijk just slips. Don't think he intended it to go there at all, but Warren Barton pounced on it, and you can see there how important Curle's header was, with Fashanu right on his shoulder.
So the corner kick for Wimbledon, and the left-footed Kimball coming across, maybe to win swing one. Dangerous from these sort of situations, Wimbledon always. City survive this time, and maybe they can break with Flitcroft.
Just a little bit too anxious to go forward quickly. Gary Flitcroft miscontrolled the ball.
Sheeran and Flitcroft. Good challenge by Jones, and now Fashanu. And McMahon with the challenge. Play on, says the referee. Edgehill long for Quinn. Scales with the clearance. Well, there's something about Wimbledon, their comradeship, their determination, their devotion to this unfashionable, poorly supported club. And in a way, it's all turned into a kind of great strength for them. Quinn, interesting knock on. Scales getting it away. Manchester City looked quite buoyant here at the start. Edgehill.
This kid's had a great start to his debut.
Well, he looks as if he's been playing there for a couple of seasons, doesn't he?
But as I said, Ian, there's no one in front of him. Huge amount of space for him to play in. And if you're comfortable and you want the ball, then he must be desperate to get the ball every time.
There's Brian Horton, who once scored against Manchester City, a very famous goal for Luton, a goal that sent Manchester City down. He was hoping the City fans might kind of forget that, I think. Curl doing well there. Tony Coton to McMahon. This is David Brightwell, the younger of the two Brightwell brothers. He's been getting a bit of a run in the side lately.
Look at this hole again.
Look at the space again.
I keep repeating myself, but I mean, you just can't allow it. Eventually they'll get punished, Ian.
This is the talented Warren Barton. Joe Kinnear, the Wimbledon manager, has been doing a good job with the club. Of course, they were really flirting with relegation for the first half of last season, but made a big climb up the table to 12th. And it's an interesting statistic, you know, Andy. A lot of people have Wimbledon down as perennial strugglers. The lowest they've ever finished is 13th. Here's Brightwell. Now, Laurie Sanchez. Groenendijk with that nice left foot of his. But I think that's just going to skid off the turf, and even the quick Sheeran won't catch it.
Gary Flitcroft's playing an important part in creating this area of space down in front of us, because he's tucking himself infield. He's not playing wide, and that's given Alan Kimball a problem, because he's not so sure to go with Flitcroft or whether to stay wide and go and meet young Edgehill as he comes forward.
I wonder whether Wimbledon just might reorganise a little bit. We'll see. Kernahan in his first game for Manchester City. And here he is again, the Republic of Ireland defender. Flitcroft, who's been absolutely outstanding in the last couple of games when I've seen City. He was voted the Player of the Year by the City fans last year. Curl here. Jones, that's a good challenge by Vinnie Jones. Won the ball well. Here's Fashanu.
I'll pass on comment on that. I don't want to upset the big man.
Corner flag was scared to death, Andy.
Corner flag was happy, it was nowhere near it.
It's those boots, isn't it? Well, he scored 3 with them this year. But that never looked like being another. John Fashanu, TV star, businessman, martial arts expert, footballer, you name it. Penthouse flat overlooking Lord's. He's quite a character, and they love him around here. Holdsworth sneaking in there, and Curl doing a good shielding job to make sure that the corner wasn't given away.
Good defending. A lot of defenders would have been rushed into clearing that, but Keith Curl was in total control of the situation.
Wimbledon made an awful lot of money, of course, when they sold Curl for £2.5 million. Never forget Terry Phelan was sold between these two clubs for another £2.5 million. And Wimbledon's markup on that was £2.4 million. So it's certainly...
They like Manchester City then, don't they?
They clearly do, don't they?
One of Sam's favourite sides, eh?
Dean Holdsworth had a great first season in the top flight. Brightwell here for Manchester City.
That was lovely.
This is Scott Fitzgerald. Scott Fitzgerald, the former captain of the Republic of Ireland's under-21 side. He hopes that maybe he can get into Jack Charlton's World Cup thinking. Fashanu here, though, for Wimbledon. Out to Barton, looking to take on Brightwell. And David Brightwell doing well enough. Niall Quinn. Oh, that's a good ball for Sheeran. Flitcroft breaking forward. Sheeran goes inside and he's robbed. Simpson makes something of it. And Edgehill not able to quite keep it in.
That was poor appreciation of what lay around him from Mike Sheeran. It really was. Flitcroft had made a great run. Edgehill was joining him support, completely open. And that was about the worst option he could have chosen.
Wimbledon 0, Manchester City 0 here. Fashanu beats Kernahan in the air. Fashanu here! And plucked out of the air by Tony Coton, who's having a great season.
Well, that was better from Fash, wasn't it? Hit that much better. What's good about this is Fash wins the header, but he doesn't hang around. Look, he's looking for the little knockdown. Holdsworth doesn't disappoint him. But Tony Coton is very happy to see this one go right down his throat. Much better.
Fashanu really looks up for the job, I must say, tonight. Vinnie Jones in there, winning it in the air. And the header wide from Robbie Earl.
That's a little illustration that they think about the game as well. Because Vinnie Jones has spotted the height of Edgehill. And every free kick they've had, he's pulled on him to use the height advantage. Groenendijk tried to help him out there, but even he was unable to stop Jones winning it.
This is probably the strongest side that Wimbledon have had since they arrived in the top flight. And they think that they can finish in the top 6 this season if things go right and they steer clear of too many injuries and suspensions. Got some good kids coming through as well. One or two, like Fear and Tall Boys, have been already used this season. Now here's Curl, who thought about the free kick.
Great, they wanted to push out. Keith Curl knew all about it. Dummied them. Now they can't come out second time.
That's off Fashanu's head. Can Sagers keep it in? Bizarre piece of play. Remarkably, it doesn't go for the corner.
Does it count as a pass back?
Good question.
I thought Vinnie got something on that, didn't he?
He meant to do something with it. Whether it was a pass back, I don't know.
Well, we've seen some bizarre decisions in that rule.
Fashanu again. The red boots find Kimball. One in the air by Brightwell. And McMahon is getting fouled. There's always a sort of lot of verbals out there when John Fashanu is playing, as Sean Teal revealed to the press earlier on this season, when Fashanu apparently kept on calling him baby throughout the match. Must have been difficult for the Manchester City players, Andy, in the last couple of weeks with all this business going on with Francis Lee and Swales and the rest of it.
Well, from Monday to Fridays, I think it probably had a little effect on them, but if you asked every one of them, the best part of all this time has been the 90 minutes that they've been out in the pitch playing, when they can totally concentrate on one thing, and that's the thing they all love doing most, playing the game, Ian, rather than listening to all the talk about who's going to be the chairman, who's going to be in charge of the club. And that showed tonight.
That's a nice ball again by the youngster. Flitcroft here. And nobody attacking the near post. One of Andy's favourite hobby horses.
Well, Mike Sheeran, I think, was pulling and pulling, waiting for the ball just to be pulled back to him. You know, had he gambled and just sprinted along with Gary Flitcroft, he may have got in there.
And Sagers. Fashanu on, and Earl getting a touch onto it as well.
It's interesting to see how teams adjust themselves to cope with Wimbledon's style. I notice at Manchester City are quite happy to drop off as far as they want and challenge Fash and Holdsworth in the air. I remember at Tottenham last year in a cup tie, when Neil Ruddock was controlling a Tottenham back four, they decided to push up and say, well, if you're going to knock it over the top, we'll gamble it, we're quick enough to deal with that. And it worked very well for Tottenham that day.
Laurie Sanchez. Too long for Barton, who'd made an interesting run diagonally from the right-hand side. This is Alphonse Groenendijk. And Joseph with the illegal challenge on Fitzroy Simpson. Simpson hasn't had too much of a look in so far. This is only his second start in the side tonight. Those injuries we were talking about allowing him in. McMahon. Simpson once again. And the live wire Sheeran. Manchester City being forced backwards by Wimbledon's tenacity and running. In this fixture last season, Manchester City won it. It was their only ever win at Wimbledon by 1-0, scored by David White, whose absence tonight is caused by an ankle injury. Quinn knocking this one on. And Kimball, wearing number 35, doing the shielding. I think that's the highest number we've seen so far in this squad system, 35, but it could be topped tonight by one of the subs, Gary Blissett. He's got 36, and the sub goalkeeper, Perry Digweed, is wearing number 37. Where will it end?
I hope at the end of the season.
Good one, Andy. I think they might be thinking about it. We'll see. And that's cool by Kernahan. And the free kick for Scales, who is not in agreement with Kieran Barrett's decision, you will gather.
So awkward now, Quinn, to deal with. A lot of big lads don't jump very well, Ian, but now Quinn is not in that category. He's one of these lads that, when he puts his mind to it, he can really climb as well, and that's what makes him such an awkward customer.
It's a real old confrontation that's going to be in the air all night between those two. It's coming up again now, and it's Quinn who wins this one. Sheeran attacking it. Fitzgerald got it away. Sanchez still bouncing around awkwardly. Scales scrambling it clear, but only to McMahon. And Kimball long for Holdsworth.
But that's another little cameo of what they look for Manchester City. Quinn to win it in the air. And what I'm surprised is that there are not more runners off him. Mike Sheeran was a solitary runner off Niall Quinn there. And if I was a midfield player playing in the side that Niall Quinn played in, Ian, then I would be gambling 9 times out of 10 that he's going to get a touch in it. He watches it comes in. Now, take a gamble there, take a gamble, but there's only one of them, look. And it's Mike Sheeran. And there was a big gap for any of the other midfield players who stood at the edge of the box to run into.
It's a very good piece of defensive play by Scott Fitzgerald in all of that. Earl on to Holdsworth. Earl's gone into the middle. Holdsworth with the good shot on the turn. Tony Coton is going to take something inspired to beat him the way he's been playing. He made what I reckon is the save of the season so far from Les Ferdinand in the last game. Good ball from Sanchez. Aimed for Barton, who used to work in a firm of city accountants until he was rescued by non-league football. I think he was signed by Bobby Gould, who's with us tonight.
But this is always worth trying on a night like tonight with such a slippy top, because anything that bounces in front of a goalkeeper like that is going to make it very difficult for him. But Tony Coton dealt with it so easily.
Wimbledon have a lot of men forward here, and this will be something they'll have worked on in training. The Vinnie Jones long throw. No, he goes short in the end. Now the cross, and nobody is there.
Probably just a fraction too far out for Vinnie to launch it in there. Another 5 yards towards the byline, and I think he would have chosen to throw in rather than trying to get it back to his feet there.
Vinnie Jones, who is a stone lighter than he was last season. He's been working at Lilleshall on the early season injury that kept him out of the side. He came back with a goal, and he's looking very trim. Fashanu helping this on. Well read by Kernahan. Alan Kernahan was voted man of the match twice running in appearances for the Republic of Ireland in Dublin, and another who hopes to be on the plane to the USA next summer. On by Simpson for Sheeran. Now Quinn. Simpson's cross. Flitcroft attacking. Oh, and a nasty blow on the head there for Kimball, I think it is. Just caught by Flitcroft's boot or head or something anyway.
That was his boot, Ian. He was bending down for the ball. That's the problem. It's whipped in a vicious cross and it just tips. And you watch there, Kimball's head goes down and he meets Flitcroft's foot. Very nasty, but brave defending. That's the one thing you say about that.
Alan Kimball, who was part of John Beck's Cambridge side that stormed through the leagues when they used to take all those ice-cold showers before games. Andy, I bet he's glad he doesn't have to do that anymore.
Well, he would have had one before the game today when he was warming up, wouldn't he? It was bucketing down just before kick-off.
I don't know what's worse, the ice-cold shower or the ghetto plaster. Terry Burton there, chatting with Joe Kinnear.
I think that the problem is this right-back area. I'm sure that's what they're trying to do. I actually think they would like to push Kimball on a little bit. He's, again, as I say, he's worried about Flitcroft, but he shouldn't, because Laurie Sanchez should be able to take him in that midfield area.
Wimbledon unable to provide any real attacking threat down the left-hand side because of their formation.
I think we've got a fair idea where this is going. Would the mixer be a fair guess?
Kimball knocks it in, long again. Fashionu's in there, and on the turn, just over the bar by Laurie Sanchez, the man who scored the most famous goal in Wimbledon's history in the FA Cup final at Wembley.
Well, this just shows you that they don't necessarily have to win the header. What they want to do is stop the defenders clearing it properly. That's what Fashanu does then, and that's why the chance drops for Laurie Sanchez. And he's been around this club long enough to know that if he hangs around Fash when he's going up in the air, that eventually something will drop his way.
He's been in good goal-scoring form this year. He's got a couple, and I think he won £200 on a bet on himself at Norwich City in the last game. He had a tenner on himself at 20 to 1, I think it was, to score the game's first goal. Well, it was the only goal. Nice little bonus, isn't it? Now, Kimball. Again aimed long, this time towards Fashanu, who gets there. Earl was attacking Coton there with the punch. But that's where Wimbledon really are very, very menacing indeed. Teams know about it, but knowing about it and being able to stop it are two quite different things.
They deal in percentages in those situations. If we put it in there often enough, then something's got to go our way. A little bit further forward, this throw in Ian. It wouldn't surprise me if Vinny elects to get this one right in there.
Save towards Sanchez on the near post. Simpson stopped it getting there. Back in again by Jones, but only to the other number 4, McMahon. That's not a good ball from him, though. Once again, Kimball. Too long for Sanchez.
Well, let's have a look at that chance. I mentioned that Robbie Earl hadn't scored all season. Now, when you see the way that he commits himself here to this header, look at the 8. What is he? What, 6 inches away from meeting that? I'm amazed that he hasn't found the net. The one thing I'll guarantee, if he keeps getting in there like that, Ian, it won't be long before he does.
Foul on Fashanu. And I think we're going to have a booking here, maybe, for Brunendijk. Manchester City's first of the match. It's the second in all. John Scales booked earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, you can see quite a deliberate trip from Brunendijk, right under the referee's nose.
Now Wimbledon might fancy their chances here. Again, Kimball's been brought across to take it. Barton, and I think it hit Niall Quinn and goes for the corner. City under the cosh a little bit at the moment.
That's what I mean about it. They do think about it as well. They've got everyone into that vein of thought that it's coming in here. We better get everyone in the 6-yard box. And what do? They just make a little square pass to Warren Barton.
Cross coming in, it's dropping around very dangerously indeed. Fashanu was in there, so was Earl. Here's Sanchez. And Kimball, who's still out on that right-hand side. Good play by him. Coton doesn't get there. Earl's header is blocked by Edgehill. Now it's Scales. Sanchez again. Wimbledon with some storming pressure.
Well, this is going to get loaded in again, there's no doubt about that. Vinny's come over. If he can wipe the ball a little bit.
Well, I've seen them score countless goals like this, Wimbledon. They look for the knock-on at the near post and the goal at the far. Is that the plan? Aim towards Sanchez, who doesn't win it. Edgehill is the winner in the air this time. Wimbledon about the tempo, Andy.
Yeah, well, look, the one thing they love to do is, when they get a team back in the 18-yard box, is keep them there, Ian. And for about the first time tonight, they've been able to do that for the last 4 or 5 minutes. Here's a chance. It's actually Fashanu at the back post who gets the header. Robbie Earl goes for the first one. There's Fashanu, and there's the block.
Now, John Fashanu, he's got 3 goals already this season. And that £125,000 they paid for him back in 1986 was pretty good value, wasn't it?
I see. But I think he's given them value for money, hasn't he?
Had a lot of injury problems last year, Fashanu, but all that behind him now. Shots so far, Wimbledon 6, Manchester City 1. City had a bright beginning, but they haven't produced much by way of menace since the first 5 or 10 minutes. Wimbledon just starting to take control, you feel. Kimball. Edgehill getting this one away.
See, if you defend deep against Wimbledon, then that's the one thing that they can do. They can get pressure on you and keep it, and they're happy to do that. That's why I sometimes think that the policy that Tottenham used last year, when perhaps they gambled a little, but they were confident that they had the pace to deal with Holdsworth and Fashanu over the top. And I think that's less of a risk than the threat of Fashanu in the air at the edge of the 18-yard box, knocking defenders over, getting little touches, and then Earl and Holdsworth and people running off him.
Another free kick will be hoisted long in the Wimbledon fashion. Jones looking to knock it on. McMahon gets it away. Barton out to Alan Kimball. Here's Laurie Sanchez, and here's Vinnie Jones.
Great play from Sanchez. Assessed the situation so quickly. He obviously thought he was getting squeezed out, but look at that deft little touch. And the only thing Vinnie did wrong for me there is he goes near post. When across the goalkeeper on a wet night like tonight, anything could happen.
Sanchez long. Fashanu nodding it on very well for Holdsworth. And some good defending by Kernahan. Now this is a dangerous patch in the match for Manchester City.
They can't get out, Ian. They can't get out, or they don't want to come out. Whether they're happy to defend along the 18-yard line, I really do think it's a dangerous policy to adopt against Wimbledon.
Went on, but there's nobody there. Coming up on Sky Sports on Wednesday night, don't miss it. Big World Cup night. We've got Norway against Poland for you live in England's group, of course, and San Marino versus Holland as well. Here in the FA Carling Premiership, Wimbledon 0, Manchester City 0. Coming up to 37 minutes on the clock. That's Fitzgerald with the clearance. And Kernahan getting there again for Manchester City. He's been very cool back there. Edgehill. Flitcroft. Edgehill coming wide. In the middle are Sheeran and Quinn. Kimball got back to stop it. Flitcroft again. Linking up with the other youngster, Sheeran. Cool Groenendijk with that nice educated left foot of his. And McMahon, good ball. Picking out Sheeran, almost threads a way through. Until Scale stepped in.
Well, that's about the first time in 15 minutes that City have managed to put more than 2 or 3 passes together. And that's been the difference. They've been unable to get hold of the ball. And when that happens, Wimbledon look the better side. But that little clip we've just seen shows that if City can dominate the game with possession, then they'll certainly benefit from that.
It's a very tough away fixture for Brian Horton's side, probably the biggest test they've had since he became the manager. They've won 2 for him so far. Yeah, and there he is. I think he would probably regard a point as a useful one tonight, but they may sniff out something more than that. Wimbledon really can be a handful. Last year, worth remembering, they won 1-0 at Manchester United and at Liverpool. They knocked Aston Villa out of the cup on penalties, and they beat Norwich City, who are up there in championship contention, 3-0 here. There are the two men plodding it all, Joe Kinnear and his assistant Terry Burton. Fashionu's back header. Holdsworth is in there. Good debut for Alan Kernahan so far, back there, Andy.
Solid, no problems at all, Ian. He's dealt with everything that's come his way quite well. And certainly after, 40 minutes this first half, he'll be well satisfied. But against Wimbledon, the way they play, it's a long way to go.
Here's Earl, trying to find a way through. The chance is still on as well, but into the side netting.
Well, I said if he keeps making those runs, it won't be long until he opens his account. And this is as close as he's come. Again, he's the one. Goes past Steve McMahon, goes past Edgehill, but the angle's very tight. It's always going to be difficult from there. But you see his run coming from the right of the screen. Look at the determination that it takes to get through there. But the angle very tight.
Here is Kernahan. Fashanu. Now Barton, who's popping up in all sorts of positions. Joseph. That's a good pacey run from him. Can't keep it in play, Roger Joseph.
He's unlucky there, Ian. Did the hard thing very well, getting past Simpson. He just pushed it too far in front of him.
Real dedicated pro, Roger Joseph. He was the first Wimbledon player to arrive tonight about 2 hours and 15 minutes before the kickoff. He was the first man out on the pitch, warming up as well. Real enthusiast. Again, that same ploy by Manchester City. Quinn knocking on and hoping to pick up Sheeran, but it hasn't worked so far.
You need more options, in my opinion.
Fashanu on to Holdsworth. He does well to keep it in play for Barton. Lots of men in the middle waiting for it, and the deflection for a corner. Looks a handy player, that Warren Barton. They picked up for £300,000 from Maidstone. Injured a lot of last season, but an integral part of the Wimbledon side, where they've been going so well this year. Corner kick is flicked on. Quinn was back there to get it away. Vinnie Jones trying to engineer some opening for the cross. Kimball back to Sanchez, and the flick header from Holdsworth.
Nice play. Controlled, didn't rush to play it in, picked out the passes, worked it to Sanchez. I think Tony Coton's always got this covered. It looks really close, but the keeper untroubled. It's a difficult header, not easy at all.
Here's Fitzroy Simpson. Gary Flitcroft. Simpson again. Edgehill on the overlap. Not such a good ball by the 18-year-old, but he hasn't done an awful lot wrong. It's a debut he can look back on so far with some pride. Kernahan cut out by Fitzgerald, and then Vinnie Jones completing the clearance. Wimbledon, who've kept clean sheets in 3 of their 7 games so far. It's not a bad record. City haven't looked much like denting it. Flitcroft, Quinn pulled away from the defenders. Flitcroft saw it, and the idea was good, if not the execution in the end.
The idea was very good, but had he delayed it a fraction of a second later, then the right back Edgehill was flying up into this huge gap on this near side, and he could have just rolled it to him. But the idea was right. It was a positive idea.
Barton was being pushed by Brightwell.
That's what you don't want to do, is invite unnecessary pressure upon yourself, certainly this late in the half. Because the one thing, you know, they'll put players up, they'll load it up there.
Kimball again. Brightwell clearing up the problem he himself had created in centre field by giving away the free kick. Edgehill's clearance to Simpson, but the ball keeps coming back. Vinnie Jones, and here's Holdsworth. Well, he was in space.
Lovely ball. Dean Holdsworth does pick up some lovely positions in the area. Look, makes his mind up really early. Alan Kerner in the 15 playing everybody onside there. Whether that's not knowing his teammates and the way they hold the 18-yard line. But he dropped off, played Holdsworth offside, onside. And it's what, about 6 inches too high.
Well, we're in the time now that the referee is added on for stoppages and injuries, and Wimbledon have been pushing forward with ever-increasing pressure here. Edgehill giving that to Fitzgerald. Now here's McMahon. City will probably welcome the respite of the half-time whistle and a chance to go in, get some fresh instructions, maybe regroup a little bit.
The only instructions I would be giving them if I was Brian Holt would be pass the ball. Keep it and pass it. You've looked a different side when you've done that.
The half-time whistle goes. No goals in the first half. A fine debut by this young man, Richard Edgehill. Still all to play for here at Selhurst Park. It's Wimbledon 0, Manchester City 0, with all the analysis to come at half-time.
Welcome back to the Monday Night Football. No goals at half-time. Wimbledon 0, Manchester City 0. That's half the job done for City, Malcolm Allison. But the way they played at different times, they'll fancy it, won't they, still?
Well, I think early on they were very confident. Just the last 15 minutes, they got a little bit of confusion in their game, and they got crowded in the 18-yard box, never came out, and they should have come out much quicker. On a couple of free kicks as well, they should have come out. But if they start off with the confidence they started off in the first half, they'll do well.
There's the cheerleader.
He's all dressed up tonight as well. Where's his cap? Where's his bomber jacket?
He's on the television, you see.
I think she's a superstar now.
An autograph or two.
Just an interesting thing, Phil Neal and I at Coventry, we find it difficult, Richard, for 15 minutes. We have to disappear sometimes. We've ended up in toilets, corridors, washing rooms, because it's now a long time for managers to talk to players and to be able to keep their emotions controlled and everything for 15 minutes. But it is difficult, and Phil and I have looked for different rooms to instill different things into the lads at half-times. But it'll be interesting to see what Joe Kinnear, Terry Burton and David Moss and Brian Horton said at half-time to the players.
Well, here we go again. We're about to find out. Let's rejoin our commentators, Andy Gray and Ian Dark.
Thank you, Richard. Andy and I actually were just having a laugh up here. There's a message keeps going up on the electronic scoreboard saying, would Inspector Candlish please report to the control room as the owner of the pot plant has been located. I mean, who brings a pot plant to a football match, Andy?
We did see it was raining rather a lot today.
It's like the day of the Triffids. Anyways, Wimbledon, who are going to get us underway. No substitutions at half-time. And Warren Barton Back to Kimball, who seems to have the job of taking all the set pieces and launching those long balls forward. Fashanu nodding that one down to Holdsworth. That's away by David Brightwell. Quinn on to Groenendijk. And it's given away by City. Curl getting this one away to McMahon, who took a knock there off the ball from Vinnie Jones, and the referee was 2 yards away.
No substitutions, as you say, Ian, but I noticed at half-time that Andy Clark spent the whole of the half-time period warming up. He stayed out on the pitch, so Willard Joe Kinnear is saying, like, let's give it 5 or 10 minutes. If we don't get a goal, then perhaps we could see Andy Clark very quickly in this second half.
He also has Gary Blissett he could call on as well. Meanwhile, it's City attacking. Vinnie Jones, who, whatever his critics may say, he does get through a mountain of work in the centre of that midfield for Wimbledon. Become a bit of a cult figure. He's getting married as well quite soon. Wish him well. Vinnie winning this one as well. On towards Dean Holdsworth. 1 or 2 appeals from the crowd, but only the crowd for a handball in there. Wimbledon creating nearly all the chances in that first half. 1 or 2 of their players too who are due a goal, like Holdsworth and Robbie Earle. Here is Holdsworth now. Only Teddy Sheringham and Les Ferdinand outscored him for league goals in last year's Premier League. And City on the attack with Flitcroft here. McMahon in support, playing that anchor role in the City midfield, and that's not a pass that will live long in his memory.
That's poor play, actually, because they had the momentum there to carry on the attack, and then everything just ground to a halt.
Vinnie Jones with the throw. Kernahan with another important interception, but Barton has a chance here for the cross. And once more Kernahan giving away the corner.
And once again, Alan Kimball's making his way over to take it.
Well, no wonder Joe Kinnear has such a high regard for this fellow, Alan Kimball, because he's become the dead ball specialist.
A lot of teams won't do that, you know, Ian, bring your left back over to the right side of the pitch to take a corner, no matter how good they are. I just feel there's such a distance to get back as the ball breaks out quickly.
Fashanu and Earle are both on the goal line. Jones is near post. It's aimed towards Jones. He's won it, and so nearly an own goal by Alan Kernahan.
Free kick Ian he's given against Vinnie Jones. I didn't see much wrong in here. As it comes in, he's given a free kick against Vinnie there. He said he pushed Fitzroy Simpson. You see the left arm comes up there into the back. I don't think that's a free kick. I think the referee was a bit kind to them there. But that's his decision.
It was perilously close had it been allowed to stand. Curl scales away for Wimbledon. We look pretty secure at the back. Earle knocking this long, but easy for Tony Coton, who must be one of the most unluckiest footballers in the country not to win an England cap. He's a very good goalkeeper, and I know Peter Reid, his former manager at City, felt he was the best in the country. But others will have their own opinions, of course. Edgehill into Groenendijk, the Dutchman who used to play for Ajax. Jones in hard, but fair. And Holdsworth going down under Groenendijk's challenge. Wimbledon will have a free kick. He's already been booked, Groenendijk. Not that you'd, I think, describe him even in your wildest imagination as a hard man. Yet another Wimbledon free kick. Again, it's Kimball that takes it, and in there is Earl. Wimbledon want the corner, but the referee says that Coton was being pushed by Dean Holdsworth.
We see the difficulty in dealing with it. I think it's Gronendijk who gets a header. No, it's not, in fact. It's another good... Whether it's a good defensive header or whether it's a lucky defensive header is debatable, Ian. But they got the free kick again.
Joseph scrapping with Simpson, and Vinnie Jones going in for a bit of wrestling with Simpson off the ball, unspotted by the referee.
I think you can see, though, when the game's bitty and there's no real flow to it, you really do fancy Wimbledon as this side. That's why Manchester United have got to be strong. They've got to be confident and strong enough to attempt to put passes together.
Edgehill's ball down the line, aimed for Sheeran, who hasn't had too much joy out of that Wimbledon defence so far. Nick Collins has some news at touchline for us.
Just quickly, Ian, to tell you that Brian Horton's called upon Manchester City to be more adventurous and up the tempo in the second half. Joe Kinnear is worried about his midfield. I'll tell you more in a moment.
Do carry on, Nick.
Well, basically, he feels they're not playing as well as they have been in recent matches. He's concerned that Richard Edgehill is getting too much space, so in the second half, look out for Alan Kimball to take him on more. In Kinnear's words, it's to see who's best between the two. One last thought, as the Wimbledon team came out for the start of the second half, the Ghetto Blaster was booming out a record called Keep Up the Pressure.
That's what they're trying to do. Thanks a lot, Nick. Nick Collins with all the latest news from inside the two camps. Well, Vinny, you can't keep him out of the action. One wag joking at half-time that he'd come in with a terrible gash leg and he didn't know who it belonged to. It's only a joke, Vinny, honest. It's Kernahan. Good solid debut from the man signed from Middlesbrough for Manchester City. And Manchester City have had an increasing amount of defending to do as well. Vinny's long throw this time. Fashanu nodding this one on. Barton's in there. And here's Earl! And a great save from Tony Coton. Tremendous stuff from the City goalkeeper.
The movement straight out the Wimbledon coaching manual. Launched into the area. One or two touches. Robbie Earl does nothing wrong. Super volley. As you say, Tony Coton playing with such confidence is equal to it. But just watch how well Earl hits this. Not a lot of space to hit it into, and Coton's equal to it.
Here's Barton. And this time Earl has scored. He's got his first goal of the season. Wimbledon lead by a goal to nil. City could do nothing about that one. The goal scorer is Robbie Earl.
I said if he keeps getting in there, it won't be long until he gets his first goal of the season. They push out looking for offside. He's not offside, and that's a simple tap-in. They come out en masse, actually. One light blue jersey stays in there. And because of that, the rest of the Wimbledon team are onside. And they've got the breakthrough, to be fair, that they have threatened from about the 25th minute onwards in this game.
Well, I think you have to say from a neutral standpoint, it did look as if the goal might be coming. Earl, who'd been denied and must have been wondering what he'd have to do to score this season after that save by Coton, is there with a bits and pieces goal on the far post. And now here's Fashanu. Wimbledon could be on their way here into the top four. If they can get two more, they'd be into third place behind Manchester United and Arsenal. Here's Vinnie Jones. Simpson clearing it. It's a tough job for an injury-hit Manchester City, this, when you consider that they could field a defence full of the players that they're missing tonight, which might read Ian Brightwell, Andy Hill, Michel Vonk and Terry Phelan. You'll know the kind of problems that Brian Horton's had. That's Vinnie Jones knocking this one on. Fashanu down, he's looked sharp. Holdsworth, now the goal scorer, Robbie Earle. Earle again. There's a confidence about Wimbledon, and now they're playing a bit of football as well on the floor, knocking it short. Scott Fitzgerald getting that one away. Jones again, knocking this one forward. Well, Wimbledon beaten only once at Sheffield United this season. Nobody's managed to beat them here. They've had draws against Chelsea and Villa. Here's the goal again.
Watch it again, you see it there. In fact, I think it was Alan Kernahan, the new boy. And as I say, when you've got players making debuts in there, and they're not tuned into the way that a defence plays, Ian, you can have mistakes. And I think that's all that happened there. Manchester City obviously have policy when a corner's rolled out there to the edge of the 18-yard box, that they push out to the 6-yard box. I think it was Alan Kernahan who didn't push out, played everyone else onside, and Robbie Earle has a simple task of tapping it in.
Tough job for Manchester City now as Vinnie Jones knocks this forward, and those of you who probably don't see very much of Wimbledon probably getting a good idea now of the kind of pressure they're able to exert on teams. Here's the goal again.
Here we go, they all go out here, you see what I mean? But look at 15, who's in there with John Fashanu, and the other debutant behind them there. The two lads unfamiliar with the way that the City defence push out are caught.
And just sneaked through to Robbie Earle, who was first to react on that far post. Linesman flag is up now. What are Manchester City going to be able to do about this?
The first thing they need to do, Ian, is get hold of the ball.
Curl hitting this one long, aimed towards Niall Quinn. But that hasn't worked, has it, for them, that tactic tonight? The long ball to Quinn.
It hasn't, because the only option they've had off Quinn has been Mike Sheeran. I'd quite like to see Gary Flitcroft be brought into the centre midfield area for a little while, because he is one lad who will gamble on Niall Quinn winning it, and that would give him a double option of Sheeran and Flitcroft there. But it's very difficult for him to gamble from the wider area that he's playing in midfield.
Earle. He's a good player, Robbie Earle. There's a few clubs who'd like to sign him. Kimball.
I know Ron Exton tried to get him to Villa when he was leaving Port Vale to come here, I think it was, wasn't he, Ian? And he just delayed his decision a little bit too long. And I think he's always regretted the fact that he didn't get Robbie Earle to Aston Villa.
Well, I think all the money that's now flooding into the Premiership has meant that Wimbledon haven't had to sell, and Earle stays at Selhurst Park. Barton long, is Fashanu attacking, and an important defensive header from David Brightwell to deny him on the far post. Otherwise, Big Fash would have been in there.
You see what John does right of your screen? There's nothing more than just pull onto the shoulder of the last defender. And if that ball's got a yard more height on it, then Fash has got a simple task of heading it in. That's all he's looking to do, just pull on the back post and attack the ball.
Well, here it goes. Same again. Exactly the same lineup. Vinnie Jones near post. Earle on the line. Fashanu's gone to the back post. That's a bit of a variation this time.
And that's the reason why, because Niall Quinn had planted himself right at that near post area, Ian.
It's not away yet. Sanchez trying to work an angle, and Scales in the end. Tonight's crowd at Selhurst Park, let's have a look at it. The lucky number is 8,481, which is above average for Wimbledon. Good to see the crowds in the big league up by something like 17% this year. Upbeat mood. Groenendijk.
That's aimless. That's aimless, and that's not going to get them back in the game.
City's options on the bench, they have the young striker A.D. Mike, who scored when he came on as substitute at Swindon. And they have another youngster, Steve Lomas, who'd be coming on for what would be his league debut, a midfield player.
What he might be tempted to do, Ian, is bring on Mike, who's got pace. You see him at the back there, stripping off, and take off a midfield player and play three up front. I think with no real width on either side, I think that would be the best option.
Well, Mike is going to come onto the pitch pretty soon, just as soon as City get the opportunity. This might be the man coming off, Groenendijk. I saw a number 20 down there, it might not be. Fitzroy Simpson. Brightwell. Nodded down by Quinn, but nobody to take any advantage, and he looked around there with an air of almost desperation on his face, Quinn.
Frustration it was, because that's exactly what was in his look there. Worked hard to get the flick, and no one running off it.
Fashanu in on this one, and Curl did well. Now here is Niall Quinn. That's good chasing back by Earl to win it back. Fashanu again to Part, and there's a real spirit and competitiveness about Wimbledon. Joseph's cross, Curl gets it away. What they do, Wimbledon, is they make it such a thoroughly unpleasant experience to play against them here. And A.D. Mike is going to come on, but not before this is taken. Out it comes to Vinnie Jones! Oh, screamer!
Where did you get that one from, Vincent? Goodness me, didn't he hit it? But it was only the quickness of the throw. They were very alert, very alive. Manchester City went to sleep, and as this is only half cleared, I'll tell you what, he won't hit many better than that. Really hits a screamer. This should be a great angle of it. Hits it perfectly. I'll tell you what, had it not been a little bit wide, that would have been nestling in the top corner.
A.D. Mike, the 19-year-old, is on. Off has gone Alphonse Groenendijk, the Dutchman. And Mike will be moved up into a forward position. Manchester City have to gamble. Here's Fashanu here. Now, there's one or two people around the country who've even mentioned Fashanu as a possible candidate for the England team, and I know he feels that he and several of his mates suffer because they play for Wimbledon when it comes to international recognition.
Brian Horton substitution makes absolute sense, and hopefully he'll be looking for that to give him a more attacking option.
Good ball by Barton to find Joseph here. Holdsworth is on the near post, but Coton was there. Wimbledon at the moment are asking every question out there.
Suddenly Roger Joseph has come to life as an attacking force on this near side as well. Look at the way he gets through into all that space, and Dean Holdsworth is looking to get in near post, but the ball fractionally near Tony Coton.
Well, it has to be said, Wimbledon are full value for their lead. We went down to watch the players train last Friday. Here's his shot, and this is looks how close this is.
I'll tell you what it did do, you don't see it, it just flicks off Steve McMahon, you know, that wonderful camera shot. It just showed it took a slight deflection off Steve McMahon.
It's a great shot from Vinnie Jones, really was. Shots so far, 12-1, and this might be another one coming up. Curl getting it away. There are appeals for handball again from the crowd behind the goal, but nothing asked for by the Wimbledon players significantly.
Well, we'll get a great view of it here as it bounces away from him, and suddenly he's under pressure. I think that's on the chest, but you know what home fans are like, time for anything.
Yeah, definitely wasn't a penalty. I think the replay proved that conclusively.
It would have been too difficult a decision for the referee anyway. He was probably about 20 yards behind them.
Off McMahon for another corner. And that's sign in the corner. Do you see it saying the crazy gang, where they take the corners from, as if we didn't know where we were. Here comes the corner kick. Quinn got it away. Flitcroft got a header in too. Now here's Sheeran. City being penned back and barely allowed out of their own half. Brian Horton's side need a goal, otherwise it'll be the first defeat under his management.
They need a breather. They need to do something to stop the pressure upon them. Giving it away like that, Ian, that won't do.
This is AD Mike. Now Simpson. And Brightwell getting forward. Can City make anything of this? Again, it's aimed towards Quinn, who seemed to be pushed and buffeted in there, but in the end, the free kick, I think, is given the other way. Well, you could have fooled me, because I reckon he took about 7 knocks in there before he did anything back.
I think we'll see that Quinny is the guilty one in there. You see that the arms are up. He's trying to make a position, but there he goes. The push on Fitzgerald, and that's the one the referee gave a decision on.
I think he might feel it was certainly at least 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Doesn't matter. Play goes on.
Unless you've been in that situation and you don't know the amount of buffeting that goes on in situations like that.
Jones to take it. Aimed towards Sanchez. Flitcroft conceding the corner.
They can't get a respite, can they, defensively?
It's incessant at the moment. This time Barton is going to take it. In swinging with the right foot. Coton goes up and claims it well. Goalkeeper's had a good night.
Played well, Tony Coton. Handled the ball well. No chance for the goal, and everything else has been of top quality.
Flicked on by Sheeran towards Quinn. And Scales patching up.
Trouble being, there's the one goal in. That's the only disappointing thing that Joe Kinnear will be feeling, that having dominated the game for so long, had so much pressure, there's still only one up.
Well, they have 22 minutes to add to that. Halfway through the second half is Richard Edgehill. Will be 19 in 3 days' time. Some birthday present, isn't it, this week? His debut in the top division for Manchester City. Fashanu having a little joke with him there, just off the ball. And Sagers, Tony Coton pushing this one forward. Fitzgerald got there. Nobody there at all for Manchester City on that far post. When they have attacked, they really got enough bodies into the penalty area. Look at Sagers here, coming out almost like a sweeper. Earl, now Jones. Holdsworth made a run, Edgehill with the interception for Manchester City. Now Quinn, this looks a bit more promising. Simpson. And it all comes to nothing once more.
Had more men forward in the box than they've had for a long time. AD Mike, Gary Flitcroft has now moved into a more central role, has got himself forward. And that would have helped Niall Quinn had the ball been provided for him.
Up goes Mike and gets there as well. But Scales looking very, very solid at the centre of that Wimbledon defence every time Manchester City have attacked. Holdsworth spreads it wide to Roger Joseph, whose first touch is not a good one. Ooh, Kernahan there in the argument with the cameraman. And I think everything is intact. Those cameras are a bit expensive. So is he, by the way, £1.5 million. Well, nothing happening for City at the moment, and that almost symbolised it. Warren Barton. Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald will face some competition for his place now that Brian McAllister is near to fitness again. But as long as Wimbledon are playing like this and aiming towards the top 6, you can't see Joe Kinnear making many changes to this side. He's been very pleased with the way they've started, and hardly surprising. That's Fitzgerald again. Flitcroft. City at the moment just a bit ragged, Andy.
Yeah, and as I say, until they get hold of the ball, there's not an awful lot they're going to be able to do in this game. They've had a spell when they've given it away very needlessly.
Keith Curl will keep competing and competing all the way. He's a great example in that City defence. Here he is again. He knows all about the kind of threat that Wimbledon pose. It's good work by Quinn. Forward by Scales, and here's Holdsworth. Question who's in space in the middle. If Holdsworth can get it down and find him. Still Dean Holdsworth. That's nice football from him. And Steve McMahon with a cushioned header to clear it all up.
Again, the problem arose, it's getting to know you. Alan Kernahan deeper in this situation than Keith Curl probably wanted him to be, or is used to having his centre back alongside him. And that's understandable. They've only been at the club a day or so.
Wimbledon looking a tough nut to crack. But there still is only the one goal in it. And all the time it's like that, City will have hope. Here's Barton. Oh, that's good play from him. And too long for Earl on the far post. That's a lovely piece of play by Warren Barton to set that up in the first place. Sager's under a bit of pressure and takes no chances.
It's the first bit of pressure he's been on. Look at now, Quinn gesturing to the rest of his team to get up here and support.
David Brightwell.
Well, if Brian Horton wanted his side to put a bit more pace into the game in the second half, he'll be disappointed with the response, because they haven't done that at all.
There must have been times when Manchester City felt as if they were trying to fly a paper plane into a hurricane. Wimbledon pushing forward with such intensity at times in this second half. Good ball from Earl. Look how much space Barton's got. Joseph's on the overlap. Goes it alone in the end. Acres of space for him.
Well, he had the acres of space, but that was all due to Roger Joseph's totally unselfish run there, because then Keith Curl's got a problem. What does he do? Does he close the ball? Does he go with the runner? He had a really difficult decision as a centre-back there who was exposed. He gets away with it at the end of the day, but, you know, someone in a more instinctive finisher may have made him pay for that. Great run from Roger Joseph, it really was. Totally unselfish.
Had a good game, the fullback. Well, Wimbledon have their detractors, that's for certain. But there are a lot of people in the game, too, who rather admire what they've done on slender resources. Now, this is down by Quinn again. Vinnie Jones is there. The opposite number 4, Steve McMahon, now 32 years of age, launching that forward. Fitzgerald wanted in the air, but took a knock as he did so. He's on his feet now, though. Here's John Fashanu, off on another marauding run. Jones, good ball that for Barton. He's got the pace to make something of it as well. And 2 Wimbledon players in there waiting. Edgehill with the clearance.
Well, I've got out of jail again. Because Holworth and Earl, you watch it, a 2 against 1 at the top of the screen. Barton does ever so well to even reach this cross. And had he missed out the only defender in there, young Edgehill, and he'll surely have paid for that. But it's still only 1. Manchester City must think, well, we might only need 1 chance, and we've seen it time and time again. Teams dominate a game. I mean, just look at that corner count, it illustrates it. I've only 1 goal to show for it. A team gets 1 chance against them and makes them pay.
Kimball takes it, Quinn gets it away. Jones felt he was pushed, but it was a bit of a half-hearted appeal. Now Sheeran and Roger Joseph making sure that nothing more came of that. Onside, Vinnie Jones, who's having a very good match now, really. On towards Fashanu, to Holdsworth. And Earl on the turn, he's got another chance here for a second. Was he brought down there? No, says the referee. Curl's challenge on Robbie Earl, and that'll be worth looking at again. Oh, now Vinnie Jones body checking Simpson in the middle of the field. And Simpson, to his credit, got up quickly and didn't make any meal of that.
Well, we don't need to see Vinnie's again because a pretty clear-cut that challenge. But it'll be interesting when we get a chance to look back at the Robbie Earl situation after this free kick.
Let's see this Manchester City free kick, then we'll show you again that penalty incident. The penalty claim. Anyway, curl forward, up towards Quinn. Sheeran took an inflection off Fitzgerald, I think it was, for the corner. But there was a half chance for Manchester City.
Just an example of what I mentioned 2 or 3 minutes ago. 1-0, City believe they've still got a chance. Only need to create something, only need something to drop for them, go their way in that penalty area. And all the good work that Wimbledon have done will be down the drain.
Up goes AD Mike there. Fashanu is back to get it away. Fitzroy Simpson puts it in there again. Wimbledon under a bit of pressure. Steve McMahon. Here still is McMahon. And this is the best spell yet for Manchester City.
It's the only spell from Manchester City, in all honesty, in the second half. 2 half chances within a minute. Robbie Earl gets the header out of a pack of players. And this is where Steve McMahon, he risks getting hurt there from that high tackle, risks getting hurt again from a wild challenge by Fashanu, that slices his shot wide. But here's the other chance, or the penalty claim. Was it or was it not? I don't know, I've got some sympathy. Whether there's a tangle of legs in there, both of them look as if they're going for it. It would have been a very harsh decision, I think, a penalty there. And you see the referee on the left of the screen, and a very good view of it.
Thanks, Andy. Now Vinnie Jones for Wimbledon. This is Earl for Roger Joseph. Barton, who's had a stormer for my money. Don't know what you think, Andy. Warren Barton.
There've been a lot of good performers for Wimbledon tonight. Roger Joseph's came more into it, certainly eye-catchingly as an attacking force second half.
Oh, he's out of his area there, Hans Sagers. It was an eccentric piece of goalkeeping, because if he'd stayed back, he could have handled it. Instead, City have it with Sheeran. Mike. And I think there are 1 or 2 questions going on among the Wimbledon defenders and their goalkeeper there about that.
Well, it was balmy, wasn't it? Dominating the game for so long. And as you say, Hans just needs to step back into his penalty area and pick it up. But they're a weird bunch, these goalkeepers. How many times have we said that throughout the years?
Well, this last weekend, the Bruce Grobbelaar Steve McManaman incident. extraordinary goings-on up there at Goodison Park. Barton trying to close in on this, no real chance against Tony Coton. Coton, who saved a penalty in Manchester City's last away win at Swindon. That was important from John Moncur. Marnin well.
What we have to remember from the Swindon game, it was a late rally in that game as well, Ian. They were behind for a long spell, I think 3 goals in the last 16 minutes.
That's right.
That got them the victory, so certainly evidence there that suggests that they'll stick at it.
Quinn attacking this one. Scales just getting his body between Quinn and the goalkeeper. There's Jones. Fitzgerald forward. Fashanu, who's on, so we read, £2,500 a goal, up to 8, and then £5,000 a goal. Fashanu trying to get on the back of this one. Curl. Again, some calls for a penalty, but really Curl was only doing there what Scales had done at the other end. It was a good piece of defending.
Hey, no wonder Fash is on penalties, eh? No wonder he was so vehement in his acclaim for that penalty.
Well, I'm not sure whether the figures as reported are exactly right, but he's certainly on a healthy old bonus. 2,500 a goal was the figure that they were quoting. Here's Kernahan. Quinn nods it on, and this could be a bit of a chance for Simpson, and there was a push-off anyway.
It's offside, Fitzroy Simpson on the little knockdown. But that's what they haven't had enough of for me, is the options. You watch Simpson come up there, it's the flick on there, the flag goes up immediately, and he's offside. But they need more of that.
Fitzroy Simpson, he'd made a good run, trying to get ahead of his strikers. It was a tight-ish decision, but linesman certainly in a much better position than Andy Gray and I. No, Kieran Barrett, the referee, wants this pulled back to where Fashanu and Curl were having their little playful argument.
Well, Wimbledon can sense victory, and Manchester City are getting more and more desperate. And it's a classic example of a team holding out for a win. They're starting to accept a little bit of pressure from City, and that can be dangerous.
Barton. Now Fashanu is one-on-one with Kernahan here. He's going to hold it up and wait for some support. Jones providing a little. And Barton, but the flag is up. That'll be offside anyway. Now, what about that earlier penalty appeal again, Andy? Here it is.
We get a different view of it here. Robbie Eller's the one who controls the ball now. It's Keith Curl that comes in. There he goes. The leg comes across there. Look, it's a bit of a tangle there. I think, in all honesty, seeing it from that angle there, no claims for a penalty.
Quinn. On by Eddie Mike. Flitcroft. Scales, who's barely put a foot wrong back there. City beginning to come more and more into it. Brightwell with the cross. Quinn was in there. And Wimbledon are having to breathe a little more anxiously now. Fashanu trying to run Keith Curl, but he is one of the paciest defenders in the land. And the verbals going on between them, the two old teammates. Well, if Wimbledon can hold on to this, they'll take their tally up to 15 points and move into the top 6 place that they've been threatening to occupy. Edgehill, long for Quinn, who turned well, and the whistle's gone. The whistle's gone.
It's always a difficult one for a referee, that, when it's hoisted like that and two big lads are tussling for it. Now Quinn's trying to get his body. Look, he's feeling for him, but you see the left arm comes out there. And I think that was the thing that concerned the referee.
Coming up on Wednesday night on Sky Sports, World Cup action in England's group. Vital game, Norway against Poland. It's live for you. We're on the air at 6:45. And we'll have San Marino against Holland as well. It's a real bumper World Cup night. That's Wednesday. Here tonight, Wimbledon lead by 1-0 inside the last 5 minutes at Selhurst Park.
Well, they're worthy of the lead. There's no doubt about that, Ian, but the job is not complete.
Well, Andy Gray had a little bet before the start of play.
I did, didn't I?
You said Robbie Earl's going to score tonight. He's due one, and, well, he's been right again.
It's a pity I'm not a betting man, though, isn't it?
You must get sick of being right all the time, Andy.
No, you get used to it, pal.
Here's Barton. Holdsworth making a run. He's another one who's due a goal, as we were saying earlier, Dean Holdsworth. Barton with the cross, his curl with the head up.
Lovely cross that was, Ian. Into a perfect area for someone to attack it, but no one did.
Flags up, it'll be a Manchester City free kick, but all the time the ball is down in that half. Wimbledon will be quite happy. Look at the clock ticking away, top left of your picture. Inside the last 4 minutes of normal time. But can Manchester City provide some late drama?
Well, they've sent Alan Kernahan up as well.
Fashanu is back defending. Wimbledon now taking the view largely of what we have, we hold. Can't really blame them for that either. Barton's taken a knock on the head there in that challenge of McMahon. And he's groggy. McMahon pitching it forward again. Now here's Quinn. 80 Mike closing in. Sager's off his line. And his defenders are a good deal happier about him now.
And they'll just tell him to hold it. Take your time. Only a couple of minutes left now. And this is a big victory if it stays like this for Wimbledon. It really is. And it might just be what they need to actually see themselves in black and white. Up there rubbing shoulders with the Manchester Uniteds, Arsenals and Aston Villas of this world, Ian. That can do as much for you as anything.
Well, they have this sort of shabby little kick outfit image, Joe Kinnear's side, but he was showing us around the training facilities they have now. It's very much a Premier League type setup. Wimbledon are going to make a late substitution here. Off goes Warren Barton, who just took that knock. Andy Clark is going to come on. Barton's had a great game, and he's getting very, very warmly applauded by the Wimbledon fans. So on comes Andy Clark, the 26-year-old pacey wide man. 5 goals from him last year. It was one of the great moments. That header must have gone about 50 yards.
Well, he learned from his last header, didn't he, of course? It went nowhere. He thought, well, I'm not getting shouted at by this lot again.
He's doing an audition for John Scales' job, I think. Now City, as Barton trudges off to the dressing room with very little time to do something about it. Kernahan. Mike is dispossessed. Wimbledon throw is the decision. Now, Vinnie Jones kicked the ball away there, and well, I've seen players booked for that this season. Kieran Barrett just having a word with him, but it would have been a needless booking, really. Fashanu, that's out of play. Now the whistle. Just going there, and once more Kieran Barrett just having a word with Fashanu about knocking it away too, but Wimbledon trying to make those seconds disappear until we're past 90 minutes. But here's Robbie Earle. Can they embroider this with a second goal? The substitute, Andy Clark, looking to make an instant impression. Still not away. Simpson is still not away. Down again for Holdsworth. Curl getting it clear. And Vinnie Jones taking it into the corner and trying to buy some time. And be pulling back quite well there.
Well, that's the best way to protect the 1-0 victory. Play the game in your opponent's half.
And now a real challenge between Jones and McMahon. And what's the referee going to do about that? An ill-tempered exchange. After the ball had gone, Jones came in on McMahon, who reacted very angrily.
Well, he's been treading thin ice, Vinnie, for a couple of minutes, but you can see this. I mean, that's... Well, there's nothing nice you can say about that. I'm no surprise that Steve McMahon reacted the way he did. Vinnie Jones will definitely get booked. I just wonder if he'll take any action against Steve McMahon for his reaction. It looks not.
Vinnie goes in the book, and quite honestly, he can't really complain about it, can he? Such a shame, because he's played very, very well for Wimbledon. He's got it away this time. We're in injury time. Curl towards Adi Mike, who gets it down. Flitcroft. And Scott Fitzgerald was back there defending. It was a vital interception, but Manchester United, Manchester City with this one last effort maybe to salvage something.
Well, they better get a move on, because there can't be much time left.
Everybody in that penalty area now. Here comes the corner kick. Sagers with a vital punch away. And there goes the final whistle. Wimbledon go climbing dramatically up the table into the top 6. That's what it means to them. Robbie Earle's goal wins it for Joe Kinnear's side. Tony Book shaking hands there. And Wimbledon's combative spirit, their will to win. And you have to say, really, that over the 90 minutes, it was a deserved victory, because they had most of the chances, most of the pressure. Robbie Earle, with his first goal of the season, was the difference between the sides in the end. Tremendous spirit in this camp. Celebrations among the Wimbledon fans. And they've won here. And by the way, we're back here next Monday to follow this continuing Wimbledon story when they play Jerry Francis's Queen's Park Rangers side. Sam Amam's going to be happy. When they go in the dressing room afterwards, they apparently all go into a sing-song after they've won and sing, "Here we go again," happy as can be. The 85-year-old chairman, Stanley Reid, goes in there. They all join in. They have a right old knees up. And that's part of the Wimbledon spirit that's taken them quite a long way, hasn't it? Manchester City's first defeat under manager Brian Horton.
Well, we always thought it was his most difficult challenge up
the
to
crowd
now. Brian
tonight
Horton
was over the average. Andy.
I was just saying, Ian, it was always going to be his most difficult challenge so far in his 3-game managerial stint at Main Road, and I think that was proved tonight. I think if they'd have got anything from the game, it would have been unwarranted, and Wimbledon had put so much into it for me, apart from a good start from Manchester City. But after that, Wimbledon dominated the game until they decided 6 or 7 minutes from the end that what we have, we hold. And that was about the only time in the match that City really put them under any pressure. So Wimbledon, for me, fully deserving of the victory.
Thank you, Andy. Nick Collins has some of the leading players in the drama to talk to.
Thank you, Ian. Yes, I'm with Robbie Earle and Warren Barton. The music's already started in the dressing room. I just think everybody is very pleased with tonight's performance and result.
Yeah, we needed the 3 points. We've had a good start to the season. We felt tonight we had to go out and get a win here, and puts us back in the top 6 again.
Half-time, it was goalless. What kind of things were being said to force you on in the second half?
We just sorted the formation out a little bit. We were a little bit stretched in the first half. We got a little bit more compact second half, and we got the rewards, pen them in the second half, and, you know, we got the goal that we wanted.
Let's just bring Warren in here at this stage. Warren, you seem to get a lot of space in that second half.
That's right. The boss has told me just to stay out wide right, and thought fortunate enough I was getting a lot of the ball and obviously helped Robbie to get his goal.
I know Wimbledon players are characterised by their determination, but you must be pretty pleased by the way it's going at the moment. You're right up there now, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. We're very confident and we've got a good team spirit. Obviously, you can hear it, and we just got to keep this going all the way through the season.
OK, well, Robbie, the goal that decided it came just a few minutes after half-time. Let's give you a chance to have a quick look at it. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, I just remember we played a short corner and one whipped it in, and I just went behind fast for the pieces and managed to just get my foot to it. So yeah, it's the first one of the season.
That's right. We were saying actually you were probably due a goal because you hadn't got one yet.
You know, I've been usually 1 in 3, 1 in 4 through my career, so you know the lads have been ribbing me a little bit to get a goal, and tonight was a good time, you know, to get one. But we've been getting 1-0s in the last 3 games now. We've been solid at the back. We always feel like we'll score a goal at the other end.
How strong is the Wimbledon belief that you can actually do something like finish in the top 4 or 6 this season?
Well, I think, you know, the club were given a big lift when Scalzi, you know, didn't go in the summer. Everybody stuck together. Looks like we've got a good squad together. He's brought players in, and we feel, you know, we can show what we'll do now this season.
Well, wish you luck. Before you go, must just bring in Sam Herman, the Wimbledon owner, who's going to present the Carling Man of the Match award to Warren Barton. Well done, Warren.
Well done, baby.
Well done.
Well done, baby.